Hello, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride, and today we're looking at a submission by Jennifer of her horse Siroco. Siroco is a 17-year-old PRE Spanish horse, which basically means a Spanish sport horse. Now, she says that he was ridden in a very collected frame, and I think you understand that he wasn't ridden in a collected frame. He was ridden in a false frame, and that's why his neck breaks over and he's behind the vertical. And you look behind the saddle there, and he's quite sway back. So it's impossible, actually, physically, for a sway backed horse to collect, because it must have its back up in order to collect. So just something to think about. When people banter around this word collection all the time, I see Western people saying, "Oh, collect them up." Remember, collection means one thing. Once the horse is over its back, it's the degree to which the horse maintains the lowering of the three joints of the hind legs throughout all the gaits. For a perfect example of that and why she's doing so well, watch any of the tapes with Charlotte Desjardins at the Olympic Games or since then, and that's a picture-perfect horse. I'm so glad that we finally have someone that we can look to at the top and say, here's somebody who is really doing it right, whose horse is relaxed and confident and is not hollow and behind the bit. So anyway, that's the way this horse would have been ridden, and that's the way, unfortunately, what you're dealing with. And in order to correct the horse's problems in its back, you just need to get it longer and lower. And once again, the good news is it doesn't matter whether the horse is 2 or it's 17. You can improve their back. I have done ones as old as 27 and been able to bring their backs up and bring them almost level by doing this work. So have faith in what you're doing and just keep trying to get him out longer all the time. The rhythm is not bad. In fact, it's quite good, and he's swinging pretty actively, but he just needs to get that neck out longer in order to reach a place where his withers can begin to pull up through the shoulders, and you can begin to flatten that back out and get rid of that hollowness that you see there behind the saddle. But I'm sure you will in time. So know that we still need to get this horse longer and lower all the way around. He's kind of stuck in that frame. He probably went around that, as you say, in this false collected frame for a long time. But that's a perfect example of, if you see this horse and, he has his neck all in like that, if you look very closely, you'll see that he's really on the forehand, So it's understanding that only a horse that's up through the back can get off of its forehand, no matter how high they bring their legs up in the air. Collection is only possible in horses with their backs up. And it's only possible to do it in a way that is productive rather than counterproductive in that it lames the horse. And when we see these horses of the last 20 years when dressage became so tense and people roll-curring horses and these kinds of things, but how quickly they were all breaking down. It's not uncommon today for people to spend more time with veterinarians than they spend riding their horses. And if they would just ride them more correctly, they'd have a lot more fun. So just know that you just need, in all 3 gaits, it's the same kind of thing. He's just not getting out long enough yet, but you're certainly on your way there. Now, you said you tried the shambone with him. I think it would be good to spend a lot of time in the walk and see if you can't really get him out in the walk and really spend a lot of time there before you go to the trot work each day. And in other words, a lot more walk work. So we see what he's doing here in the canter. It's like he's like a rocking horse. He's pinning his chin down to his chest and just kind of rocking back and forth, but he's really not getting underneath himself the way we'd like and lift up and stay up in front. A correctly trained horse doesn't feel like a rocking horse. I even saw some high-level trainer supposedly, telling people on video that it should feel like you're sitting on a rocking horse when a horse trots. It shouldn't feel anything like a rocking horse. It shouldn't be rocking back and forth. So it should lift you up and carry you and stabilize you. And that's very true even when you see horses, things like people who play polo. And the great polo players, if you watch them, their horses are over their backs. And that's what allows them to hit the ball because the horse is stable underneath them. But this is all coming in the right direction. I mean, I like the activity, good rhythm, but once again, it's just we've got to keep trying to get the neck out longer if we're going to try to solve the problem of the hollowness of this horse's back. And you can see when you do much, he just kind of braces there against the bridle a little bit, even though he's kind of behind the bit. So he either is behind and, as you said, behind the bit with no contact at all. He's not light. This is a horse that's behind the bridle. So he needs to learn to take a little bit of contact, but it's not a pulling contact. The contact should feel like it's a positive thing in your hand. You can get a positive sense of energy moving towards your hand through the horse, which is impossible on a hollow-backed horse. And you can kind of see here, even when he trots by, how far the hind legs are out behind the body. So he's almost, as I say, he's almost like two men in a horse suit. The front end is doing something very different from the back end. And you can kind of see how he's pulling up through his shoulders rather than lowering behind and lifting you, which is what real collection looks like. So we just must try to get him just much longer yet. And if you need to try, I would like to, were it I would try him again in the Shambones. We find these kind of horses, that's usually the best thing for them that are so far behind the bridle. But if he just even curls up in the Shambone, even just really, really long side reins, so they're just barely there, and even put them on a little low along the horse's sides and see if you can't get him on the lunge line to stretch out more. So I would spend much more time in the walk and really spend a lot of time in the walk till you can get this horse's neck out more in the walk. I wish I were there with you to do this, as I could show you in a few moments. But since I'm not, we have to do it this way. And once again, same thing here with the canter. It's this kind of rocking canter. He doesn't really come up and support you the way we'd like the horse to do. That's because he's sunken through the back. But as I said, take heart, because you can correct all this even at his age. But it takes about the same amount of time. As I say, it always takes about 2 years to develop a horse's top line to the point that they can begin to think about collection. And it doesn't matter whether they're 17 or they're 2 or 4. Say it takes the same amount of time because the back has to develop in that way. So very nice work. Still try to get him out longer. Spend more time in the walk, taking contact like that. Yeah, that's what I want to see. And get him longer in the walk. So your next video of this, I'd love to see you to spend more time in the walk with him and really try to get him out longer.